Hello everybody. Draft analysis time for LDA. LDA is a startup league we just joined, and we're using the Eradicate's name as usual here. And it's one of those leagues I like to call an unbanned league. So pretty much, it's National Dex Legacy, cut moves allowed us for HP, you know, just the basic National Dex Legacy style. But as I said, it's an unbanned league because these leagues will unban Ubers with complex bans, or will just unban very low tier Ubers into their tier list. So this, we had Landers Incarnate with no complex bans, we had Deoxys Speed with no nasty plot, Darkrai with no special attack boosting, and Kiram B with no speed boosting. So that's the complex bans we went with. So pretty much this draft was pretty fun overall. I really did like the team that we ended up getting, and overall just thought the draft went pretty smoothly. Pretty much looking at what I want this draft, I didn't really plan for this draft. Like, I usually plan for drafts way ahead, but this time I was just like, whatever falls to me, I'll just see whatever falls to me and I'll build around that. So I ended up getting second overall, and I don't usually get early picks. I'm usually middle or really late into the draft, so that just kind of felt good to get an early pick for once. So we were guaranteed one of the unbanned mons. I was guaranteed pretty much the top mons in the format. First thing that went was Lando I, which is Lando I with Sheer Force. So pretty much what made it to me was there's Kiram B, Dragapult, Mew, Darkrai, just really good stuff that are still there at my current position. And there's stuff like Mew and Dragapult, which I really did consider taking because I'm not gonna get a chance to use Mew and Dragapult in standard until I get an early pick again. For Dragapult, it has to be first overall to even have a hope of getting Dragapult. But somebody did make it back to me, and I was just thinking when I was thinking about what I was gonna get, I was like, okay, if this team makes it back to me, I'm gonna take it no matter what because it's very, very good. And it's now second overall, and it didn't go first overall, which it definitely should have. It made it to me, and that is gonna be Brad the Chad Darkrai. As I said, Darkrai has no special attack boosting, so there's no Combine, there's no Nasty Plot, there's no Charge Beam, that kind of stuff. But Darkrai is just really good. I think that's the best way to describe Darkrai as a whole, is that it's just a very good Pokemon. It is an 18-pointer, which is the highest point tier that they have. It's really fast. Darkrai is very fast, and Darkrai is very specially offensive. 135 special attack is really good. Functioning is a really great breaker, as well as a really good endgame sweeper. Something with like Choice Specs Darkrai, Life Orb Darkrai pretty much forces people to pick a sack every single time this thing gets brought in. It's bulky enough to take a hit and not be revenge kill too easily, though it is weak to Mach Punch, so that's something that does have to be alerted about. Darkrai is very good because it also gets good coverage. It gets Sludge Bomb, Focus Blast, Ice Beam, it even gets Dialga and Palkia signature moves. So I think that's a pretty cool little quirk about Darkrai. So Darkrai is just a very good Pokemon in general because it has a lot going for it. Just the special attack and the speed is a lot, and very difficult people to deal with. Once the thing gets in, it's pretty much always gonna be taking something out. And chipped fairies and chipped fighting types and all that stuff have to be very careful about switching into Darkrai because it has coverage for those things, and if it makes sense to bring coverage for them in that matchup, then they do have to be very careful about that. Darkrai could potentially have some 4-move syndrome in some matchups because it does get pretty good coverage and might not be able to have coverage for everything in some matchups, but it kind of just comes to what I need to prioritize and everything. I'm very excited to use Darkrai. I'm very excited to use it as just a very good special breaker and just have that there as an endgame win con and have that there as a mid-game breaker. Because it does a lot to teams, especially as teams are weakened down. But even in the beginning of the team, it can blow holes in teams early on and let something else come in and clean. But Darkrai is primarily going to be something that's going to break through physical walls because of its very good special attacking, and it's going to break through, and it's going to clean late game. It also does get Swords Dance and has 90 miss attack, and I did promise Couch that I would use Swords Dance Darkrai at least once this season. So let's hope we secure playoffs so we can meme one match and bring Swords Dance Darkrai. Could that just be very funny? So for our next pick, what pairs really well with Darkrai? In general, something that really appreciates having bulky Psychics broken isn't a Darkrai really pairs well with. It also pairs really well with some Steel types. So, I'm looking at Melmetal because Melmetal seems to be very good with Darkrai because it's just Melmetal's very good with Darkrai because it kills fairies for Darkrai. The only thing I didn't like about that is that left me a very fighting weak team if I did that. So I was looking at something that I was suggested when I took this to Kahlo and asked, hey, what works with Darkrai and everything. Mega Metachamp was suggested, and I was like, oh, Mega Metachamp sounds really good. I've never used it. I want to use it. And it looks really good with Darkrai. It got sniped in the second round, so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing my second best option, which is also a Pokemon that I've wanted to use for a while and still works pretty well. That's gonna be Zapdos Galar. Zapdos Galar is something that I have not used, something that I do want to use, and now I have the chance to use it. Zapdos Galar is a very good choice item Pokemon. Like, literally, it's very good at high tier Choice Band, Choice Scarf, very good at running both those two items, very good at running a Life Orb and all that stuff. It's very good physical breakers, so that gives me a nice little duo of physical and special breakers very early on into the draft. And overall, it does pretty well. It's Brave Bird, destroys fighting types, it's a pivot, it really does appreciate having those bulky psychics broken by Darkrai. But as I said, this leaves me very weak now. That was only downside about picking these Zapdos. It does leave me very weak, but I do really like these Zapdos because Close Combat does so much, Brave Bird does so much. It does still get Throat Chop, so it can still hurt bulky psychics, though my primary way of breaking those is left more up to Darkrai than it is left up to Zapdos, because Zapdos needs chip on things, it needs to be banking on no Cobra Berry and all that stuff, and losing Zapdos to play like that is not something that I think I really want to do. So Zapdos is here to be a really good physical breaker, it's here to be a nice offensive pivot, it's here to be a choice band Pokemon, and it's here to be that nice little offensive duo with Darkrai. That's what this whole team is more so. This team is really built around Darkrai as the primary Pokemon on it. So I think Zapdos just fits very well here, and I really do. I wanted to use it, and I think it's really good, and I'm excited to use it. I think that being able to spam CC, and even in some matchups, Thunderous Kick, but Thunderous Kick is still more situational than board things. But it's a Pokemon that really fits the way that I play, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun too this season, especially pairing it with pretty much everything we got on this team. So my third pick rolls around, and I'm looking at what I can get. So my third pick rolls around. I'm kind of looking. Okay, so what do I pair now? I need a Steel type on this team bad because, as I said, I'm very weak on this team. I don't have much of a way to break fairies, and I need something that can help me cover fairies. So what do I need? I need a Steel type, but there's one Steel type that is still there. It's the Steel type I've used before, and I really do like it. That's gonna be Scizor. Scizor is something that I haven't used since BDL. And I used the Mega in Kahlo, and I love Scizor a lot. This thing is a very good Pokemon. Choice Band Scizor is an insane breaker. ST Scizor is just very fun to use. Scizor as a whole is a very good Pokemon. It gives me a nice little fairy switch in because it's decently bulky, and I honestly think it's more bulky than people give it credit for. It also does get Roost, it gets U-turn, it gets Bullet Punch and everything, so it's a great revenge killer, and it's a great offensive pivot on this team. Overall, I think it works really well because it lures in. It mainly lures in fire types, and we have ways to break fire types later on. But another thing it lures in is steel types, because even Superpower doesn't do a lot to some steel types. So it lures in steel types, and guess what? I'm getting a free U-turn into Zapdos G, and I'm being able to destroy those steel types or get a free U-turn back into Scizor or something like that. Like, it's just keeping a momentum chain, or keeping them up chance to just deal damage, just deal tons and tons of damage and everything. Scizor is very good because also, as I said, it's a fantastic revenge killer, because 60 base power Bullet Punch with Stab is very good. It actually is incredible how much damage this thing does. It is so it can spam U-turn, it can spam Bug Bite, it gets knockoff. So finally we have some better knock support in the team, because Darkrai does get knockoff, but I don't really think Darkrai is running knockoff. So Scizor is just there to run knockoff. It gives me some removal as well with Defog. So Scizor is going to function primarily more. My headset just loves to shut off in the middle of recordings. But Scizor's going to function more so as a defensive Pokemon than it's going to function as an offensive Pokemon on this team. Because it works a lot better being that type of Pokemon. It works really well defensively, it works really well as a remover, really well as a defensive pivot, getting rid of items, just being that slightly offensive revenge killer too. But often the Scizor is still something that I probably will use because I do like offensive Scizor. But I just think that Scizor, Zapdos, and Darkrai is a very threatening for a starting 3 pair. And then the team just gets better and better as we go on. So I'm still slightly weak to Fairy because Scizor is good, but like a choice specs very specially off to the Fairy. Something like Primarina, Scizor is not going to have a very good matchup against that. I don't think Scizor being my only Fairy resist is a very good thing, especially on something that's so weak to Fairy. So what do I get? None better to get than Toxapex. Toxapex is stupid. No better way to say that. Toxapex is a stupidly defensive Pokemon that has recovery as well as regenerator. It gets haze, it gets knockoff. It is just very good. Is a good way to put how Toxapex is. It's very good, but it's in a stupid manner. Like, it's not good. It's good because it was given stupid stuff. It was given stupid high defenses while still being given regenerator, which is one of the most busted abilities in the game, for sure. So I just really like Toxapex in general. This is a very great defensive backbone of the team to have something slightly reliable. Zapdos does switch into ground types decently. Does leave me slightly electric weak without a proper resist. So I did notice that immediately if my team was slightly electric weak. Did draft immunities, did draft resist later, just to keep this team not so weak in that regard. Toxapex sadly cannot pivot, but it still becomes a very good, reliable defensive backbone of the team. It can stack T-Spikes, and because of its stupid bulk, it's a really good setup stopper because it switches into setup sweepers and just hazes them. It's very good at stopping setup. It's very good at just being a very good defensive Pokemon overall in this meta. It really threatens things out. Even with only 53 special attack and everything, it still threatens things out. Losing their item, just Fairy types still don't want to take a Sludge Bomb to the face. Getting toxic, it just puts a lot of pressure on things defensively. Puts a lot more offensive pressure than you would expect from a defensive Pokemon. Because like losing items, getting toxic, losing their setup is a big thing for a lot of Pokemon, and Toxapex helps to put that kind of pressure onto teams. And it's always going to be a reliable defensive Pokemon because it's always going to be staying healthy in some form or another because of Regenerator. Just keeps it a very good Pokemon in general, and makes it very useful to this whole team as a whole. So that's what I like Toxapex from. That's why I got the pick. It also is another fighting resist because we did not have our fighting resist was Zapdos. So another fighting resist was definitely very good. And the thing is, you might notice a nickname, Thing 1. There has to be a Thing 2 now. That's so. Pex. What goes well with Pex? What is the Demon Core itself? Next pick, Deoxys defense. Goated Mon. Deoxys defense is just also very stupid. Finally gives you some hazards. Me, the guy who really does not use hazards that much. My most used hazard is Sticky Web, and even I don't use Sticky Web that much. I am drafting Deoxys because I need some form of another fighting resist and just need something, the Demon Core on this team. Teleport gives me a slow pivot, which, if you know, I do really like my slow pivot. So, Teleport gives me a slow pivot. It does get knockoff. It's just very annoying to deal with because Seismic Toss allows us to always deal reliable damage, pretty much no matter what. Even if you don't think it's going to be doing that much damage, it's still going to do a lot of damage to you because Seismic Toss is always doing 100 damage. It can taunt, it can set up Stealth Rocks, it can set up Spikes, it teleports, it knockoffs. It's a very straightforward defensive Pokemon, but it's really good at that. It's really good at it's very straightforward, but it's very good at what it does. Pretty much like most Deoxys forms, pretty much all Deoxys forms are straightforward in what they do. The Deoxys normal and Deoxys attack are offensive. Deoxys speed is just a complete unmon because all it has going for it is speed. And then Deoxys defense is just a demon, very difficult to break. And you're trying to toxicate, you risk me going into Pex there. Because I go into Pex and I'm just getting free regens all day, and you're giving me this very good defensive synergy, this very good defensive duo right off the bat, and that's just enough to be very difficult to break. And Couch Cat almost kicked me out of the league for drafting this, so you already know it's gonna be nasty. So for my next pick, I need a Mega at this point, and I'm pretty sure my next pick is my Mega. I need a Mega at this point. There's really a lot of good Megas left, and I do always try to get a Mega. I try just to have that knockoff switching, and just because it feels good to have a Mega. I feel like you're at a disadvantage if you don't have a Mega, and they have a Mega. It just feels like you're at a disadvantage. So, my Mega, I need a normal type. So I need a normal type. I need an electric type. I need like, what do I need on the team? An offensive water doesn't look bad here. So I was looking at Mega Man Electric, but Mega Man Electric is also really bad at the same time. There's one Mega that I saw and I'm like, you know, I've never used this thing, and I do want to try it out. That's gonna be Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan is a Pokemon. It is complex banned for no seismic toss because that's the thing that makes it broken. It's good. As you see, 175 base attack and 100 speed with decent bulk all around makes it very good physically. Its primary problem is that it always hits twice. It always hits twice with moves that make contact. It hits twice with all attacking moves, I believe. But if we're talking about moves that make contact, that means this thing ends up being very weak to Rocky Helmet, because it has literally nothing it can do against Rocky Helmet. It cannot run pads. It does not get knockoff. So pretty much it's forced to hit into Rocky Helmet twice. It suffers from a similar issue to Urshifu Rapid Strike. The Urshifu Rapid Strike can still run protective pads, while Mega Kangaskhan cannot, and doesn't really have the attack to make up for that. That's why it's usually not really drafted, but I saw it and I was like, this thing looks fun to use. I've never used it before. Return is allowed, so it does have really strong normal stab. I feel like it might have been slightly underpriced. I maybe would have put it at like 14 or something instead of 13. I think that with Return, it's just really strong with Return. Return is very strong, and just, it can run Return for damage. It can run Body Slam just to have those paras, because of the second hit, I believe, do still keep the secondary effect. So if it uses Body Slam, the first hit has a 30% para chance, and the second hit also has a 30% para chance. That's like Fire Punch will still have will have pretty much 20% burn chance. Essentially a free Serene Grace, just at the cost of having to hit into Rocky Helmet twice. Fake Out, Power Punch, all that stuff is really good on Mega Kangaskhan. I don't think Power Punch used as much as it probably should be. Power Punch is a free +2 while doing damage. And if you Power Punch right into a Rocky Helmet Mon, then sucks, but they're gonna die next turn to Return, so doesn't even really matter. It also does get Wish, so it can keep itself healthy. Oh, my mic died again right there. Mega Kangaskhan, it's able to do a lot of damage and just be a fun little gimmick mon. It does get Wish as well, so it can Wish past some of this team, which can be okay in some situations, but not really needed for most of this team. It's overall just here to be a very threatening, physically offensive Pokemon. No matter which way you're, very physically threatening offensive Pokemon. It threatens things and forces things to run Rocky Helmet instead of running Leftovers, instead of running Weakness Berry. And I really like that, being able to force things to run those types of items instead of being able to run Leftovers or being able to run a Weakness Berry. A Pokemon like Registeel now could no longer rely on its recovery. That passive recovery is really good for Pokemon like Registeel, but it no longer gets that because it has to run Helmet to deal with Kangaskhan. And that's what I feel makes Mega Kangaskhan so good, that it's able to force its items off. And when you knock off helmets, or even through helmets, it can still do insane damage. Whatever it's coming in, it's dealing a really good amount of damage. Its power up punch into Return will pretty much destroy most things. That's what I feel like will be very fun. I feel like it's going to be a very fun Pokemon to use. How it's going to go, I don't know. Are we going to drop it? I don't know, but we'll find out how this thing performs for us later on into the season. So I need a ground type, like, really bad. My team has a glaring electric weakness with nothing to absorb electric hits. So I need to get a ground type. I need one fast. So what's still good that's still available? There is Piloswine is still there. If I really want to hold off on the ground, I can go for like the low tier grounds that I usually use. Stuff like Claydol. Claydol's a pretty good comfort pick for me, but I don't think it fits that well on this team. Sand Slash is down there that I could have got. But I'm like, nope, no, I need to get a good ground type, especially on this team. I need a good ground type early on. Piloswine doesn't look bad, but there's also a Donphan sitting right there. And of course, have to draft a Donphan. Donphan is a Pokemon. God, Mike, stop. My microphone just will not stop turning off. Donphan is Donphan is a Pokemon. It has Stealth Rocks, it has Rapid Spin, so it's a remover while still being able to put up rocks on its own. Helps to force rocks off of Dio so Dio can run spikes instead, which I think is the much more premier hazard to run on Dio. It does base 120 attack, so it does still hit pretty hard. It does have Ice Shard for revenge killing. It gets knockoff. It's really good defensively. And overall, it's a very good Pokemon. Certainly loves to take hits as well. So it doesn't have to run Focus Dash. If it wants to be an early game lead for Stealth Rocks, and it can do that. But it's mainly here just to be a check to ground types. I mean, check to electric types. And just gives that kind of ground to deal with that. It helps us deal with poison types a lot better, which we didn't necessarily deal with that well on this team. Our Psychic type is Deoxys defense, so our primary way to break these were like Psychic on Darkrai, which does still do very good. But now Donphan's here to also help to break those a lot better. Because 120 attack should not be slept on in pretty much any case. Donphan is a really good Pokemon, I think, just because it's able to give me that removal, it's able to give me that hazard setting, and it's able to still give me offensive pressure while being a very good defensive Pokemon. That's going to be a great check to a lot of the electric types that couldn't be feared by my team because of my little electricness in this team. So I feel like Donphan really helps to patch that up and really helps to patch some of his weaknesses up in this team and just made everything that likes ground types a lot. But we're not necessarily a team that's bad against ground types. But what works well to help break ground types, to help be a resistant ground types, and just gives us something that we need on this team, some more removal and everything. That's going to be the Chad Delmise. We now have Delmise in this team. Delmise is the goated Pokemon. We all know how good Delmise is. It gets Steel Worker, which allows it to gain stab from Steel type moves, which is really, really good. It gets Anchor Shot, which allows it to do a lot of damage, which is, of course, very good. Anchor Shot's a signature move, and that traps things in, too, so it gets stabbed from that while still not being a Steel type. It gives me a deal a lot of things this team just previously couldn't deal with. It gives me a secondary Ghost Breaker to Darkrai. 131 physical attack with Poltergeist, with Power Whip, with Anchor Shot, just should not be slept on. This thing is really, really good. It's got Rapid Spin, so it can still remove. It's still really good defensively. If we're looking at that 70 HP, 100 defense, 90 finesse, it isn't that bad, and I do believe it gets Synthesis, so it can be a very good defensive Pokemon while still being a very good offensive Pokemon, and just being really good in general. As I said, it's a Chad. Delmise is very, very good. Anchor Shot is just really good to trap things in if you're trying to trap something in. It also gets damage off on things. Just Delmise as a whole, being able to remove, being able to trap things in, just being able to do a lot of damage is really good. I also think not Darkrai, Delmise is one of the best spin blockers in the game. Well, not only spin blocker, spinner itself, because it threatens spin blockers from coming in because they don't want to come in on a Poltergeist. A spin blocker, a Ghost type, does not want to switch in to a Poltergeist, and the only one who does is Hisuian, a Hisuian Zoroark line, and we don't talk about them. Literally, they do not want to switch in on a Poltergeist, so they have to be careful about switching into this thing. And Steel types are the best kind of check to make sure this thing isn't spinning on you, and it still will spin on you decently well. It's just a very good Pokemon in general, and I'm really excited to use it. I've wanted it for a while, so I'm just really excited to use it now. So next up, I'm missing a Fairy type. Bad. I really, really need one. A Diancie is taken, so like Comfey. It's apparently my best fairy option at this point. I don't need more 100 speed tiers. So what do I get? Well, I have to go with low tier fairies. But there's one that I really, really do love. I use it in speed tours a lot. It's always just performed so well for me. So I wanted to use it in an actual draft league for once, and that's gonna be Granbull. Granbull is very good. I like Granbull. This is a good thing to say. Granbull's pretty decent defensively. 75 defense, 9 HP. Doesn't look that good on paper, but you guys just got Intimidate. Makes it a lot better physically defensive. My team just says no to fighting types. Like fighting types just don't do good against. That's one thing I do like about my team. My team says no to fighting types, and fighting types are the best way to break two of my best breakers in Darkrai and Mega Kangaskhan. Fighting types are your best options against those, and my team just says no. My team just straight up says, nope, that's a nice dark type you got there. Too bad, it's not gonna work. The fighting type got getting twisted here, but also dark types too. I mean, we handle dark types decently. But Ground Build is really good. It's got good offenses, so it can still do a lot of damage. It does get T-Wave, and we all know I do love my Thunder Wave spam, so that's gonna be a lot of fun to use on this team. It doesn't get natural recovery, but Ground Bull usually runs rest, so it doesn't really have much of an issue with that. Ends up being a very good switch into a lot of physically offensive fighting types. Ends up just being a very good fairy in general. It's my primary check the dragon types on this team, but I do have Scizor as well, which can kind of check them, but resistance-wise they can check them, but offensive-wise it's not doing much back. And most dragons get fire coverage, so we could struggle with dragons, but Granbull is my primary check to a lot of dragons, and it does pretty decent at its job. If it's a physically offensive dragon, it does really good. Even against specially offensive dragons, it's still pretty decent with enough special defense investment and good enough attack to scare them out. Granbull also gets some pretty decent coverage. It does get the elemental punches, I believe. I know it gets the fangs, but I'm not sure if it gets all the punches. This is being a very good check to a lot of Pokemon. Just better than people give it credit for. For only 4 points, it's a very good low tier fairy, and something I really want to use for a while. As I said, I've used it in Speed Tours a bunch. It's constantly putting in work for me. I drafted it in an Uber Speed Tour in WPF, made it all the way to semis with it, because it came to every match, because it checks Uber so well. God damn, this thing is insane. So I'm very excited to use it for once in draft, and we'll see how it goes. Also, Rochi, I promise, if this thing is bad for me, I'll trade it to you, okay? Take note of that. The next pick, electric type. I need an electric type on this team. My primary way of breaking bulky waters is Delmizing. I need a secondary specially offensive Pokemon. This team will be very specially offensive, but it's literally my best option. That's gonna be Raichu. Not even special attack. Yep, this thing's gonna be our breaker. We need to patch speed tiers a bit, because we had a major speed gap between Gyarados to Darkrai. This helps to patch that up a little bit. 90 special attack is not very good, but Raichu is literally one of the best options we had for getting an electric type. I was trying to see if I could maybe upgrade something to get Raikou on this team, because Raikou looks pretty good here. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, so Raichu just kind of Raichu has to be the Raikou for us. It's Pokemon. There's not much to say about Raichu. It gets Surf, so it can still take out ground types. It's a Volt Switch user. It also does get a Wish with 60 base HP, but then again, I have Wish passed with a Plusle before, so it shouldn't be too far-fetched. I do love my low tier electrics. We've seen that with the fact that I've used Plusle very well. Don't ask about the Plusle if you haven't seen the TGB series. But there isn't really much else to say about Raichu. It's Pokemon. It does Pokemon things. It's Pikachu, but it's a big boy. So, next pick. I need some more special offense on this team, and Raichu is not gonna cut it as my secondary special offense. So, what do I get for some special offense? A fire type looks nice here. Of course, my favorite Pokemon Typhlosion's there on the board. Charizard's there on the board. So there's especially offensive fire types on the board. But there is one thing I saw there, I was like, this thing actually usually puts in some good work. And it's just a good Pokemon in general. That's gonna be Magmortar. Magmortar gets Teleport, and it gets pretty decent cover. Getting Thunderbolt on a fire type is really good, a lot better than people give it credit for. Magmortar also helps to patch up some of my lower speed tiers. I did have a little gap down there in the middle, so this gives me an 83 speed Pokemon. So I can starting in the 80s to check offensive Pokemon in that meta. Just Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Life Orb, just does a lot. It can also be it's Pikachu, but it's a big boy. So next pick. I need some more special offense on this team, and Raichu is not gonna cut it as my secondary special offense. So what do I get for some special offense? A fire type looks nice here. Of course, my favorite Pokemon, Typhlosion's there on the board. Charizard's there on the board. So there's especially offensive fire types on the board. But there is one thing I saw there. I was like, this thing actually usually puts in some good work, and it's just a good Pokemon in general. That's gonna be Magmortar. Magmortar gets Teleport, and it gets pretty decent coverage. Getting Thunderbolt on a fire type is really good. A lot better than people give it credit for. Magmortar also helps to patch up some of my lower speed tiers. I did have a little gap down there in the middle, so this gives me an 83 speed Pokemon. So I can start in the 80s to check offensive Pokemon in that meta. Just Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Life Orb, just does a lot. It can also be especially defensive because it's decent, especially defensive. It can bring Teleport. It does get Scorching Sands, I believe, which is a really fun move to spam. Overall, it's just a really good Pokemon in general. It has a lot going for it. For being a low tier, it has a lot going for it. It also does have its flaws. It is still pretty slow. It's not that fast. And it's decently frail. It's not super frail, but on the physical side, yeah, it's quite frail. Especially, it can take some hits. It's got 125 special attack though, so it should still be able to put in a lot of work for us. Choice Specs, as I said, Choice Specs, Choice Scarf. This thing can also just run choice items and do really well with them. It also does get Teleport. Pretty sure I mentioned that already. But Teleport, I do like my Teleport users. So we're probably gonna bring Teleport on Magmortar more times than you usually would because I'm like that. Anyway, I have 2 points left, so I don't know what to get on this team. I was considering Karkle. I considered dropping the Pokemon I got for Karkle, and I realized Karkle was taken, which is big stage. The reason why I wanted Karkle is because our team is really flying weak. Like, if we play the Torn T team, we're probably gonna get demolished because we just could not deal with flying types very well. But Karkle's taken, so I just went with. I was suggested to get some other special offense. Wishy-Washy. Wishy-Washy is a Pokemon. That's all there's to say about Wishy-Washy. It's a Pokemon. I don't know much about Wishy-Washy. I don't know why it's 2 points, because its stats are incredible. But it might be the fact that if it gets unschooled, it becomes the weakest Pokemon in existence, as move pool is decently limited. But it got Flip Turn. It's scary enough to break. It's bulky enough, so it's a Pokemon. It's gonna do something. We'll find out what it can do. Anyway, that's the end of this draft analysis. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys are excited for the season. My layout should be coming back because I got OBS fixed, so my layout should be coming back now. The commentary should be a lot more interesting now. It's usually not very interesting in my commentary. I'm gonna try to be a lot more interesting with it. We're taking this league semi-serious, but also still slightly easy. I'm not trying to go full. I'm not trying to just go full on this league. I'm trying to have some fun still as well, and just see how this league ends up. Very excited to use this team. I really do like this team in general. I'm like have a runny nose at the same time recording this, but I do really like this team. I think it fits me really well. It's gonna be a lot of fun to deal with. It's gonna be a lot of fun to play with. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch my opponents try to prep for it. And Darkrai is gonna be really good for us overall. That's what most I like to use is the Darkrai. Because Darkrai is gonna be really, really fun to use. It's just gonna break things like there's no tomorrow. That's what Darkrai is known for doing. That's what's gonna do on this team. So I'll see you guys in our week 1. I don't know who we're playing yet because the race isn't over. Well, see you guys in the next one. Bye.